Hello, and welcome back to my cooking shtick. Gonna make a red sauce today. This is another specialty of Marco Battaglia, my friend Marco, who taught me a lot, almost everything I know about Italian cooking. So this is not a gravy, it's not a meat sauce, it's just a plain red sauce. Make it, you can use it to make eggplant parm or anything, lasagna. It's just a plain red sauce. It's also just really good on pasta. It's a surprisingly simple thing to make. It just requires some patience, but it's very, very simple. So, red sauce today. Okay, first, these are all the things you really need to make this. You need some onions or any kind of allium, leeks, shallots, carrot maybe, celery, some tomato paste, and some whole canned tomatoes. I'm using about 3 cans of this today. You can do smaller. That's a big batch. You can make it with one. And that's what we're going to start with. All right, now I've already washed and peeled my carrots and celery, and then I did them up in a Cuisinart because I wanted those pieces smaller. But an onion, I want the pieces a little bigger. I'm just going to show you how to do it again, how to chop up an onion. Just take the end off, the end with the, not the stem end, the other end, and then cut it in half. And then I've already done that with this. You peel it after that. And then you take the half you got and you cut it horizontally 2 or 3 times. Be careful doing this. This is a very easy way to cut yourself. 2 or 3 times horizontally, and then you make these kind of fan cuts the length of it. Pretty simple. Then keep your fingers like this and just cut down it. It's already chopped. That's how you chop up an onion. It's pretty simple. Okay. A couple other things I remember that you can use. One is if you had some Parmesan around the house, you get to the heel, usually you throw this part out. Just save these. Put them in your freezer in a plastic bag or something. They add a lot of umami to sauces or soups if you're making them. You just throw them in. So that's one thing else you can put in. The other is garlic. I forgot garlic. Just a few cloves. It's really easy to deal with garlic. If you have a press, that's simple. Otherwise, just put the garlic on a table with your knife, smash it. It does 2 things. The peel comes right off when you smash it. That's easy. It also makes it so the garlic stays in one place, and then you can just chop it up very easily. Okay. Okay, I got a pot. I got a big pot because I'm making a lot. Got it over a medium heat. And we're just going to put some olive oil, a few tablespoons, 2 or 3 tablespoons maybe in the bottom. Let it heat up. Give it a 2 or 3 minutes to heat up. Okay, first thing we're going to do is put the onions in. You can use any allium, really, onions, shallots, leeks. You can use a mix of a few. I actually just threw some leeks in here on a whim, but really all you need is an onion or 2. I use 1 or 2 for every can of tomatoes. These are pretty small onions, so I used a few, and also I'm doing a big mad batch, so onions first. Medium heat, let it go a couple minutes before you add anything else. Okay, I'm not sure why, but on a whim, I'm going to throw a little butter in here too and get that melted with the onions. Onions, a lot of recipes say like 3 minutes to cook your onions for the beginning of some recipe, but it really is 6 to 8 minutes to get onions where you want them for most recipes, to really let them get translucent and release some of their juices. And so anyways, after 2 or 3 minutes though, I'm going to add the carrots and the celery and get that in, start cooking. And I'm going to go about 5 or 6, 7 more minutes after that. Okay, so it's pretty soft and translucent in there now. It's been about 8 total minutes on the onions, 5 or 6 after the other stuff went in. I'm going to do a couple things right now. I'm just going to throw a little bit of salt in there and some pepper. Be careful about adding. I like to add the stuff early because I think it works its way into things. You can use a lot less salt, but be very careful because salt is not something you can take back. And then we're going to add a can of tomato paste. Again, if you're making a smaller recipe, use less. This is for using 3 28-ounce cans of tomatoes. So you know, kind of, if we're using less than that, use less than that. Tomato paste isn't really necessary, but I find it can deepen the flavor of things, and it helps thicken them too. So I'm just going to get the tomato paste in there and cook that for a minute or so, a couple minutes maybe. And you know, before I threw the tomato paste in, I should have thrown the garlic in, but I forgot it. So I'm going to do that right now. You definitely want to add the garlic after you've cooked the onions most of the way, because garlic will burn, and that's not very good. It's gross when it does. So add the garlic in after you've cooked the other stuff and right before you put your liquids in. Give the garlic a minute or two. Like it can, you know, right with the tomato paste is probably fine. A little bit before it is probably better. So I'm gonna just give it a couple minutes to develop the garlic and the tomato paste. Okay, now we're gonna add the tomatoes. I had to put them all in a bowl. This is 3 28-ounce cans. Now I pulsed them, just real quickly, pulsed them a couple times in the Cuisinart. They'll break up while you're cooking them. You don't really need to do that. Often I just do it with my hand, squeeze them as they come out of the can and throw them in a bowl. If you do that, try and poke your finger through it before you squeeze them. Otherwise the water inside them squirts all over you. So I've got the tomatoes in here now, and now I'm gonna add the water, which is gonna be 3 cans of water for every can of tomatoes you use. I'll be back and explain that. Okay, once you add the water, so you can see this big pot is pretty full. Crank up the heat all the way, and you want to get it to a boil, and then we're going to turn it down to a simmer. The reason for the water is that things like sauces, they need time to cook and sort of mature and stew and mix around with themselves and develop their flavors. And if you just cook them, they dry out and burn, and they don't have time to really develop all that stuff. But by adding all the water, all you're really cooking away is water, and it gives it a lot more time to be able to cook and develop all the flavors. And something as sausage, you can see it's pretty simple. It's like a couple vegetables and some tomatoes. There's not much else in here except for salt and pepper and a little sugar later. Oh, and at this point you can also toss in your peeled Parmesan. So there's not much here. It really depends on it mixing together in a kind of magic way and developing this sort of really mellow stew flavor of a good tomato sauce. So the water really helps that, and it's really necessary that way. So what we're going to do is heat this all the way up and then turn it down to a simmer, and we're going to cook it that way, keeping an eye on it for hours now, all day. You can see it's already cooked down quite a bit. And it's got that much gone, so that's a couple hours. But, you know, it's still got a little ways to go for sure. Definitely a while longer. I forgot to mention, one of the things you're going to want to do is skim it. Skim the top of this as it cooks. You'll see like there's kind of scum on the top. And you want to skim that, take it off. I'm doing it with the skimmer thing, but you can just do it with a spoon too. Just dump it in something. I keep a mug next to it to dump the stuff in. That's all. I'm gonna just, I'm gonna throw a little sugar in here too. It cuts the acid of the tomatoes. Now that it's cooked down this far, I just want to cut it a little bit. Just a touch. It's got a little bit further to go. And when you get it cooked all the way down, you know, let it cool down and then keep it overnight in the fridge, and you'll see tomorrow it'll be incredible. But it's getting there now. It'll be pretty good tonight. So you can see it's really getting there. It's been a few hours altogether. And it's really turning into a sauce. I'm going to go a little bit longer than that, maybe another hour or so, and then let it sit overnight in the fridge once it cools down. And the flavors will really blend overnight, although we're eating a little bit of it tonight. It's looking quite lovely now. A little burn bit. And I think I started around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. It's cooked all the way down to there. And it's kind of gorgeous now. So I'm going to turn it off and let it sit just mingle with itself, and probably pack it up overnight and see how it is tomorrow. Okay, so I had the sauce overnight in the refrigerator, and it's yeah, all the flavors have deepened. It's great now. Might want to add a little salt or some sugar when I heat it up, but pretty much there. That's a red sauce, and you've got a ton of it, so you can freeze it, bring it out whenever you need it.